And welcome to another Round the Rotary podcast. Me, your host, J.P. Warren, and with us today, actually before I introduce the guest, I need to do the standard CPC plug. Round the Rotary podcast is brought to you by Capital Petroleum Consultants. CPC specializes in project engineering and well site supervision in all disciplines of the oil and gas industry. Contact us through www.capitalpetroleumconsultants.com to see what CPC can do for you today. That's the podcast voice. Anyway, I want to introduce our guest today. One of my actually oldest friends in the oil field, one of the first contacts, and actually the guy that got me my job before this, actually, through your introductions. We have Jonathan Brignac with us. He's the Vice President of Business Development at Edge Gathering Virtual Pipeline. How you doing today, Jonathan?
Doing great, JP.
I'm glad you're able to get on. I'm glad you're able to get on this podcast, man.
No, it's really exciting. You know, it's funny. I searched your name the other day in one of my emails, and I found that offer letter from your last job.
Wait,
you sent me.
What was 2012?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 2012. I got back from Saudi. I got into sales at Archer. I think that was for 6 months or something like that. And then I met you. Where did we meet? Was that Rosetta?
Yeah, it was at Rosetta.
Breakfast run. Old breakfast run, when you could do breakfast runs. And we'll get into that later because I kind of want to talk about the new wave or the new era of sales and how it's not how it used to be.
Yeah, 100%.
So, we met then, and I think my old boss, Bubba Smith at Penergy, you introduced us, and from there, that's when I got my last role for 7.5 years.
Yeah, I'll never forget that, actually. Bubba called me. We were driving back from Louisiana. It was a Sunday afternoon, and he said, I got a job. I want to do his voice, but I'm going to mess it up on this. But
I'll do it.
He said, I got an opportunity, basically. And I said, Bubba, I can't do it. I'm in a great spot. I said, but I got just the guy for you. J.P. Warren. I said, he's making the roads in Houston. He's doing a really good job. I think y'all get along. And that was just a match made in heaven.
Well, that's kind of interesting. Why would you recommend me when we just met, and I haven't been in sales that much, so you're kind of putting your name out there on the line for kind of a untried, untested oilfield sales guy?
I think I could just tell that you had the potential to do really well. And you and Bubba really reminded me a lot of each other, actually.
I love that. I love hearing that.
You know, he's a legend in his own right here in the oil field here in Houston, for sure. I mean, if you've been here long enough, everybody knows
Everyone
who
knows Bubba Smith is.
Yeah.
He is the mentor to learn from. I think you turned me on to that, and I appreciate you doing that because that kind of set me where I am today.
100%.
So, thank you. So anyway, Jonathan, let's get this kicked off, man. You're here. I'm excited that you're here because you recently not recently. It seems like with COVID, it seems like everything's recent, even though it's been a while. You got on at Edge Gathering Virtual Pipeline, kind of when this, when shit hit the fan with COVID. Yeah, so it was really a unique situation. I had a recruiter approach me about this job in late December. Okay. And most of the time I just hit delete and I just pass on through, but I read the description and I was really intrigued with what he sent me as far as the information and the detail of the job and the technology that this company had. So I went through the interview process over the next few months. The official day I was going to leave next year was March 18th. Okay, that's right in the middle. Yeah, so we were at Disney World with the girls. We flew back on March 17th. All right. And that's when, that day, I think the NHL, NBA, and one other league canceled their games. And I told Ashley, I don't think this is good. This is not good at all, actually. So I went in on Friday and I resigned. And I actually started for Edge on March 30th. Okay, well, what's interesting about this, I want to get into Edge because it seems like you kind of moved forward and took this on, kind of because ESG right now, flaring, emissions are a huge topic right now in the oil and gas industry. Not just for companies that want to attract capital, but also I guess portraying our industry to Wall Street and to news. So I think this is a huge focus right now for our industry. So I kind of want to get before we get started into Edge and the technology and all that, I kind of want to get a background on your background. My background? Let's do the background. Yeah, so I started in sales, I guess it was in 2007. And let me go back before that. Thank you. Take us to the beginning. I grew up, I'm probably one of the only people you'll ever find that my dream as a kid was to be a salesman. Why? My grandfather on my mother's side was an executive salesman for Georgia Pacific in the corrugated division.
division.
Okay.
And he was the professional salesman. He never misses a birthday card for anyone in our family. Grandkids, extended family, he sends them out every time. He's very thoughtful. He's very detailed.
Yeah.
And my grandfather on my dad's side was actually a salesman for Sears and Roebuck.
Okay.
Floor salesman, very good at his job. Worked there for 45 years.
So you enjoyed the thoughtfulness, and you also enjoyed, I guess, the ability to just start a conversation with anybody.
Sure. Didn't help me much with school grades, but socially I excelled, I would say.
Well,
So
I mean, as long as you're having fun, yeah.
yeah. So went to LSU. 2007, I got an internship at Star Service Incorporated in Baton Rouge, selling HVAC, mechanical and industrial services. The first mentor along my road at that point would be Jimmy Kaiser. He hired 3 of us interns. Jimmy's like the king of HVAC in Baton Rouge.
All right.
And, you know, I'll never forget the first day he was giving us the ropes of sales, and we did not know anything. I mean, anything at all. We came in there with our Dockers. You know, we thought we looked sharp. We probably looked horrible.
So Dockers, probably braided belt like a polo.
Yeah, and we thought we were sharp.
Yeah.
I mean, we were pro. And I'll never forget the look on Jimmy's face when he said, "Guys, I want y'all to take these papers and fax them." And we just stood there and stared at them. And he said, "Oh my God, y'all don't know how to fax, do you?" And no, we didn't. So we went and took a lesson on faxing the first day.
I still don't know how to fax.
Yeah, the 2 lessons I learned from that was we had to learn how to fax. And the second thing was he said, "All right, boys, I want you to pick a day where we can have our meeting. We're going to have a weekly meeting where we discuss all sales leads."
All right.
And all 3 of us said, "We want to do Friday at 3:30.
All right.
He quickly let us know that was not an option. Friday at all wasn't an option,
I
actually.
mean, if you're working on Thursday in sales, you're on overtime.
Yeah.
You're working on overtime.
Well, Friday afternoon definitely wasn't an option. We didn't even understand that. So it was, we learned a lot of really good lessons. It's a fabulous business they have in Baton Rouge. Jimmy's still there.
Did you think sales was everything you thought it would be?
Yes and no. All I ever knew is I wanted to do sales. I didn't know really what I wanted to sell. You could ask me what, I wouldn't have told you. I don't know.
You just wanted to do it.
Yeah, I just wanted to sell.
All
So I learned a lot there. Then I had an opportunity with Wood Group Logging Services right out of school to be their first corporate salesman out of college.
So how did this come about? I mean, how did you get in the oil? I mean, how did you locate Wood Group?
Yeah, so randomly, I was dating a girl in college. She was a petroleum engineer, my wife Ashley. And
Hello, Ashley.
Hello, Ashley. Her dad had said, "Look, I noticed you're pretty good in sales.
Yeah.
I just had lunch with somebody in Midland. They want to hire their first college kid."
Okay.
So this is 2007 when there wasn't a lot of young people in the business. I came to Houston. I interviewed with Mark Ritter, who was my first boss in Houston at Wood Group. And I'll never forget, I walked in the office, and I thought it was the tallest building in Houston.
Right.
It was the nicest thing I'd ever seen. And there were deer heads everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh man, this is the place
This
for
is
me."
it.
Yeah, this is the big show, right?
Did you know anything about the oil field before?
No,
Okay.
no. Growing up in Denham Springs, Louisiana, it's a plant town. It's very similar to Baytown. We didn't know anything about the oil field.
Okay.
Didn't know anybody who worked in the oil field. Never seen a drilling rig. Didn't know anything.
So this is definitely fresh for you.
Oh, fresh.
Okay.
When I saw the deer heads, I was like, "This is big time."
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm
yeah. So I interviewed. I finished the interview and I brought my transcripts with the LSU, seal on them. And sorry.
No, okay. That's gonna wake people up.
And Mark Ritter has this big dip in his mouth.
Yeah.
And he says, he throws it in the trash. He doesn't open it. He goes, "I believe you go to college." That was my intro into the oil
This
field.
is something completely different than in a college. You expect to be like very professional.
Oh.
You sit down and you got you know how to answer like, "What's your biggest weakness? What do you think your biggest challenges are?"
No,
And
it
here
was
you
none
are.
of that. He literally said, "What do you like to do?" And I went into the script of, I enjoy like everything I'd heard in marketing class,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he's like, "No," he's like, "Shut your mouth." He's like, "What do you like to do?" I was like, "I like to hunt, fish. I like to try to play golf," because I barely played at the time. And he was like, "That's good enough for me." So that's all he wanted to hear.
You had a whole rehearse, like I like connecting with customers, and
Yeah.
understanding their needs and delivering solutions.
Yeah. Every sales term you could throw out there, I was trying to spin.
So you got hired on to Wood Group.
Yeah, so I went through a training program with Wood Group in the
Okay.
field. I worked in land and offshore, so I got a taste of both, and then I went to engineering school at the end. And that was the moment I got a little real dose of reality. The vice president walked in and told me, if you fail this class, you're not going to be here anymore. If you pass, you're going to sales.
Oh, it just got real.
Yeah.
How long was that program working in the field and offshore?
It was about 8 months total.
Okay.
So it spit me out into sales right in the middle of the mess of 2009 downturn.
Okay.
So I got a real dose of reality there. But through all that, I had some really good mentors, and two guys that I absolutely wouldn't be where I'm at today were Mike Thibodeau, Larry Tidwell.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Mike was the consummate professional salesman. He taught me the ropes of your car better be clean, you know, breakfast runs, you know, all the above, be on time, you know, all the stuff to, you know, that make it, it's really important. The details.
Yeah, the details. Just like the letters on every birthday.
Shining your shoes. I remember Mike told me don't come in his office if my shoes weren't shined. And then Larry took care of the technical aspect and was really a mentor on the side of just management. Larry and I actually worked at 2 companies together, so Larry's a great guy. I still talk to both of them. I talked to Mike the other day, so they're both towards the end of their career, but great guys, great mentors.
Right.
So fast forward, I was at Wood Group, then we went to Allied, where we were a startup wireline company.
Right.
I was their first corporate salesman. Really learned a lot from Scott O'Byrne and Larry Albert. Good guys.
So when you first got into sales, obviously since 2009, times are tough. A little bit tougher than they are today in 2020, right?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. So did you follow the mentorship of you know, the Mike Thibodeau and Larry? Did you follow that, or did you kind of add your own little touches, a little flair to? I mean, what did you find to be successful?
Well, what I always try to do is when I have a mentor or someone I deem that is successful in my eyes, I try to grab 1 or 2 really good things from them and incorporate in what I do.
Okay.
I don't try to emulate them or be just like them, because I think you really have to be genuine.
Yeah.
And if you're not genuine, you can smell that from a mile away.
I agree.
But I like to take things, you know, for Mike Thibodeau is always a professionalism, the consistent sales approach, working really hard all the time, being downtown early, leaving late.
Routine.
Yeah, routine. And then also taking care of your customers. You know, it's very important, very, very important to be a servant when it comes to dealing with customers, and when you're out entertaining. You need to remember it's your job. It's not there for you to have fun.
And a lot of people don't. A lot of people kind of blur that line, I feel like. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of people that's like, well, let's just have fun. I mean, you should have fun, but at the same time, you're right. It is your job.
Yeah, and it's easy to forget that, right?
Yeah.
You
you become friends with them.
Yeah, you become friends with them, you know, and that's one of the things I've always thought about, though, is, you know, when I grew up, I didn't get to do things like go to a suite or go to Ruth Chris Steakhouse and have dinners and do all this stuff. So to me, I've always associated with my job.
Right.
Like I get to do that because of my job.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that because of the job, but you always need to remember what you're there for as well. And you build friends along the way, which are lifelong friends.
They are. I mean, so when did you get comfortable in sales? I know it probably took me probably like a year and a half to be comfortable and find my own groove. When did you kind of get comfortable?
I think it helped because the downturn was so rough. Like, just the 2009 downturn was very short, but it was violent.
Okay.
We had a massive changeover in sales at Wood Group. It laid a lot of people off. So I got some pretty good accounts, and I was really lucky because there was a very large group of engineers that came in at the same time I did. So there were a lot of people my age, and we all kind of became good friends. But I guess probably the comfort level sat in was, I want to say it was in the spring of 2009 when I sold my first big job.
Is that Allied?
No, this is a Wood Group.
Wood Group, okay.
So I got comfortable with Wood Group really quick. I felt like I caught my groove right away, and that was due to the training I had at Star, because it all built up to the point where I worked full time at Star my last year in college, so I had the ability. Really, I was ready kind of to sell.
Okay.
And the first big job I sold, which I got to give a shout out to Shannon Richard and Josh Fink, was at NFR. So
a
pump down wireline completion job, and I still remember sitting on my back porch, putting all of our numbers together, all of our statistics, and sending it off. And it had to be the cheapest bid they'd ever seen. But it didn't matter to me.
It didn't matter at that point.
No, and I sold that job, and I actually had a friend in town. And it was the best night ever. It was a big sale, you know.
The first sale.
Yeah, the first big sale.
You'll always remember that.
Yeah, it was, and those guys were awesome guys, and I learned a lot from them as well. So No, it was really good. I mean, at Allied, I caught my groove as far as landing big accounts.
Yeah.
Not a lot of growth opportunity as far as in management. So I was there for a few years. We grew the company. When I got to Allied, we had 5 wireline trucks, and I left. I think we had 32.
Okay, that's significant growth. So did you want to go into management, or did you?
Yeah, I
enjoy
really
the
wanted.
street?
I really wanted to be in sales management. I enjoy coaching, and I enjoyed my mentors along the way, and I really thought I could do a good job with that. And I really wanted to lead a sales team.
Well, that's kind of something that, I mean, we can get into that now because I do want to talk about that. I mean, you've always been very pro mentorship. I mean, you always speak highly of your mentors, and I've also, throughout your career, I've always noticed that you have personally taken on the mentorship role and identified it, and have always been focused on that. So, is that just something that you've always wanted to do, is coach and mentor, and once you found your groove, or what?
Well, I really feel like you have to give back in this business, and that's not this business or any business. It's in life, right? I think I look at the mentors I had. I would not be where I'm at today without them.
Right.
And each of them was a building block on the next, and I think they were putting my life in perfect times, right? And I look back at that, and I just think that you have to send the elevator back down.
Yeah.
We have to train young people. And, you know, we have a lost art, I believe, in the way I do sales and the attention to detail that I know it may be excruciating if you're under me as if I'm mentoring you, but I promise you it will be good.
You're making them learn, you're making them thrive, you're putting pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, the details are there, and that's what I try to focus on. And I always tell them it's free to show up early. It's free to have a good attitude.
Yeah.
It's free to put a lot of effort into it and just be there.
And people notice that.
Yeah, and I think that gets lost along the way a little bit, you know.
Well, why is that? Do people just get comfortable in their roles?
I think people get comfortable, and I think as society we're moving in different directions as far as how people grew up working.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up doing landscaping. I mean, I've done everything under the sun. Lifeguarding, cooked, cleaned.
Getting blisters and breaking your back.
Cleaned out repossessed houses, you know.
Maybe you tell me about
that was
that.
the best job ever.
That.
Sledgehammers to doors. Sledgehammers to everything when you're cleaning out a repossessed house. But no, so and that also keeps you grounded because you see things that you never would see before when you're doing that. But no, I think it's just, I think one of the things I've seen a trend with the younger people I've mentored in the last few years, and the group is probably about 26 to 28,
All right.
29 is, they let the expectations get ahead of themselves. And what I mean by that is, I always try to tell them it's like a baseball team, right? If you're my young salesperson, I have a 3-hole hitter.
Yeah.
I have a 4-hole hitter. I have a leadoff guy. And none of them are you.
Yeah.
So don't compare yourself to them. You're in the 9-hole. We'd like you to bunt and maybe get a single. Hell, walk.
Yeah.
Just get on base. We got guys to clean it up. But I think what happens is a lot of times in the society where we want everything now, it's really hard for people to wait. And it's almost like a reality check of, hey, you're doing what we're asking you to do. And there's a reason we pay you what we pay you, is because we have those expectations for you.
And people are always looking these days. I mean, whether it's, you know, it's this culture of comparison. You know what I mean? So you see someone else your same age, kind of same experience, and, you know, online they look like they're way up here, you know, crushing it, doing extremely well, their stuff's together, and you want that right now, today. And mind you, you're not trained up, and you're not, and that's probably just, you know, bogus anyway.
Well, everyone has their own story.
Right. No, that's why we're doing this podcast. Everyone's got their own individual story. That's exactly right.
So I think that there's a million ways to get it done, but, you know, it all starts with hard work. I don't care what it is.
Yeah, that's right. And honestly, even if you do get that, let's say you do get that advancement today, that doesn't mean you're going to be happier.
Doesn't mean you're ready.
No, exactly. It doesn't mean you're ready. So let's get back to it. You're at Allied. You're growing the company.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But there wasn't a lot of growth.
So insert Larry Tidwell back in my life, as we talked about in Wood Group.
All right. Can't get rid of
And he called me and said, we got an opportunity for you, Pioneer Energy Services.
All right.
And I'll mind you, I was 28.
Okay.
So winning teams don't hire 28-year-old coaches. Desperate teams do. He said, we've got a massive corporate sales problem, and we need somebody who will take the job on. So I went to Pioneer.
As what? What role?
I was the Gulf Coast sales manager for coil tubing.
So this is the first manager job that you've had.
Yeah.
So you're going from a startup company where you grew the company and actually kind of taking your experience and coming into a dysfunction. I mean, I don't know what was going on, but let me just say a troubling time, and suddenly you're put in this managerial role.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you were ready for that?
I thought I was. You know, I think it's trial by fire, right?
Okay.
Like, I think that's the best way to look at it. And we went in there, and I knew right away we had a massive corporate sales problem.
Okay.
We had some pretty good field salesmen, but from a corporate Houston standpoint, we weren't where we needed to be. So my first job was to high grade the team. And in doing that, you have to release some people and do things that new managers aren't comfortable doing.
Unfortunately, I mean, yeah, think about that. I can only imagine taking your first managerial role and you have to restructure for the political term or let people go, and that's got to be a very challenging, intimidating, upsetting kind of situation to be in.
Yeah, it was definitely a new experience for me.
Right.
But I welcomed the challenge because I knew that long term for me, if I wanted to go where I had to go, I had to get all this down, right?
Yeah.
I had to learn how to reshape a sales team and refocus it and find, what pieces fit together. Because a sales team is typically built, I call it like a basketball team.
All right.
Because we need a point guard, we need someone who can dish it out. We're going to need our superstar scorer, which might be a shooting guard or a big center, we don't know. But not everybody's built the same.
Okay.
And you have to put all the pieces together which complement each other.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of people don't really notice when they look at big sales teams. But as you go, I always wanted everyone to complement each other and work well together.
So do you focus on the strengths or weaknesses?
I would say I focused on the strengths and what they brought to the table.
Okay.
So
you had a strategy on how to do this and
Yeah.
what you're looking for. Gotcha.
yeah, so that was the biggest piece of it. And then at Pioneer ended up going over wireline for a little while as well, so got back into wireline. Big experience. I think at that time we had over 45 salesmen, which was a lot.
Gosh. Yeah.
It was a lot. So that was probably the first time I got into a situation where I was like, this is a lot.
Yeah, I can't keep track of my two cats at the house. I can't imagine 45 salespeople as kind of your second role as a manager.
Yeah, it was a lot, and it was probably too much for me.
Okay.
So I needed to fly at about 45,000 feet, and I was still trying to figure out the weeds and everything. And again, trial by fire of just in it, and it went well. But then I had a small opportunity come up right out of that that I thought was really good, but it didn't turn out so well. But if you show me someone who hadn't failed, I'll show you someone who hadn't tried.
Well, we just had that conversation. I mean, we had David Gibson on earlier, and he mentioned that he was trying stuff for like 8 times before he got it right.
Yeah. So
you have to fail.
Yeah. So I ended up at C&J.
Yeah.
Tommy Belez, who you just had on,
Old Tommy.
called me and said, hey, we need somebody who can sell. So I went over there, and I was one of their corporate salesmen.
Okay.
Just getting back in it again. And then about a year into it, they brought me in and said, hey, we want you to run the sales team. Tommy's going to move into another role. So then I found myself back into managing a sales team, which was the Case Tool Solutions sales team.
Okay.
Which was for all intents and purposes, the pride of the fleet of oilfield sales.
Did you take the same managing tactics that you had at Pioneer over to Casehold?
No, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from the Pioneer experience of managing and how to deal with people. And I think one of the biggest things I probably brought different to the table there was let racehorses run. Once you put them on the track, they're going to run fast.
Okay.
If you put another one on the track, they're going to run faster.
So kind of trust your people. Let them go.
Trust the people. Let them run. Let them go hard, even if they have different styles. So we had a really veteran team already, so it was more just managing the upper management, a little bit of down, in between, but really, really good role. A few years doing that, it was great. I look back on the team we had, and I think 6 of them are vice presidents of sales now for different organizations.
Well, everyone that you meet over there next year is a solid
Yeah,
individual.
really talented
Yeah.
group of people.
Yes.
You know? And we added some talent along the way as well that really made a big difference and impactful. So that was a great run. And then obviously last year we went to the merger with Next Tier. And good opportunities, but I kind of wanted to see what was out there. And then that comes back to the point where I got this LinkedIn message about Edge LNG.
Yeah.
So,
Which is, I mean, let's get into that because, again, as I said in the beginning of the podcast, this is something that's kind of been the forefront and people are discussing this technology, or at least the issue that your technology can handle. So tell me about Edge, if you don't mind, real quick.
Yeah, so Edge LNG, we're a company that we're bringing mobile cryo technology from Argentina.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we really focus on a few things. The first thing we focus on is flare reduction.
Okay.
So we can take flare gas and transfer it to LNG.
So you're reducing emissions by, okay.
Yes.
All right.
The second thing we can do is diesel displacement. So on all these new Tier 2 and Tier 4 frac fleets,
Okay.
on a Tier 2 frac fleet, you can reduce diesel by 45% or eliminate it and replace it with natural gas.
Oh, so you're cutting the diesel costs?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the Tier 4, which is the next generation, which you'll start seeing a lot more of, you can actually displace 75% of the diesel.
Okay, so pretty noticeable cost savings.
Yeah,
right there with
cost
the
savings.
diesel
So if
costs.
you have a flaring issue or you have stranded gas wells,
Yeah.
we can hook up our cryobox technology, we transfer it to LNG, and we actually have the trucking, logistics, and all, where we can take it to that end-use site, regasify it, and put it into the system.
Right. And what's the third thing?
So the third thing is we can take stranded gas assets. It's what we do in the Marcellus. We're already up there operating for 2 major operators. They have stranded gas assets where we actually take that gas and we sell it to market.
Okay.
Utilities, power companies, different ways just to get rid of the gas.
How are you finding in this current market, I guess, there's been doing this podcast kind of gives me the opportunity and the privilege to talk to a lot of people in this industry, right?
Sure.
Different, and you're hearing emissions right now. You're hearing, ESG right now. You're hearing technology right now. It kind of seems like this is kind of a marriage of everything right now, kind of a focal point. How is it right now communicating this new technology that will improve their ESG to customers?
Well, I was really fortunate because when we started this on March 30th, I think when everyone went into lockdown, you're trying to set up meetings, you're trying to do stuff, and it's really hard on all the salesmen out there, right? But what we brought to the table was, I had a kind of an email I'd send out to everybody and go, look, we'd like to do a presentation online on Zoom.
Right.
First time I ever used that was March 30th.
Okay.
Where we want to talk about flare reduction, diesel displacement, ESG, and I got a lot of hits immediately. I mean, we probably did 2 to 3 presentations a week starting in quarantine all the way through.
Okay.
And we're still doing them.
So you're still seeing some.
Yeah, and I think it's a topic that everyone's really interested in. ESG is the buzzword of the day for sure, and it's not going away.
Well, that's what Tommy was saying. Tommy was like, yeah, in January, there's a slide that said ESG, and he's thinking, what's this? And now he's like, that's kind of what I focus on now. It kind of consumed his job.
Yeah, I mean, ESG is not going away.
No, it's not. And I think that's something that we got to communicate to as an industry. I mean, we're walking around with bruises, scrapes, and black eyes, and I think this is something that we need to communicate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what you mentioned earlier was, we have this perfect storm of technology, ESG, old oil field, all kind of twirling together, and I think it's all culminating to what the new oil field will look like. What is that? A lot of, I think, consolidation,
right,
efficiency.
Well, we're seeing consolidation across the board.
Oh, it's just all over the place. But, consolidation, efficiency is going to be the biggest piece of it. And then we're environmental. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And you're already seeing it with some of the bigger service companies. They're going technology driven, getting rid of horsepower. It's coming across the board, right?
I think like H&P, didn't they just I don't know, I'm just saying this, but they're extremely focused on their technology right now. Extremely. I think there's a lot of companies out there that are pushing their technology over what they were previously.
Yeah, absolutely. Schlumberger is the easiest one to look at. They're going to be a technology company. That's what they are.
Really?
Yes, 100%. So, it's definitely an ever-evolving world.
Right.
But it's definitely one where ESG will be on the forefront moving forward. And I think that's where Edge can really come in and make a big difference. Because number one, we're going to stop flaring. Number two, we're going to save you money on diesel cost.
Right. Which
So-
is, I mean, that's two huge.
Yeah,
points right
it's
there.
two huge selling points.
How
So-
are people accepting this new technology out? And this is new technology, correct?
Yeah, we're the first people to bring in basin LNG liquefaction where we're mobile.
So how is that selling a new technology in this current oil field that we're in right now? I mean, are people receptive to this?
I think people have been really receptive to it.
Good.
A lot of people are excited about the technology. We just got our first contracts in the Permian Basin. We just got our first yard. We're having a grand opening in the next couple months.
Okay.
We're getting really positive feedback from operators because we're helping them in two significant areas
Right.
that
right.
are really important.
No,
quite
absolutely.
honestly, cost and ESG.
So are you doing? So you've been enjoying this this new role. It seems like a challenge. Again, you're trying to get a company into sell this new company, kind of like what you're doing at Allied. I mean, you're kind of
Yeah.
going back to square one.
Yeah, I'm the lone wolf in this one. So
Are you enjoying that? I mean,
yeah, I'm enjoying it. I like the challenge. You know me. I'm competitive, and I like a good fight with this. So it kind of brings me back to grassroots. I don't have a big sales team under me or anything like
Right.
that. It's on me.
right.
Where
Right. You're
this
kind of betting
goes-
on yourself right now.
You're damn right I am.
Good. Good.
So-
I mean, that's a motivator right there. So what do you kind of let's talk about this new oil field right now. So I mean, you're talking to people. I'm talking to people. What are you kind of anxious about this new or excited about?
Well, I mean, anxious is probably a good word for 2020.
You know what? This is why I'm using anxious. I'm tired of I'm tired of fear. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Fear is
yeah.
kind of consuming everyone's lives right now. I'm not using that word. What are you anxious about?
Yeah, I think we've got a few big things that we got to get through for the rest of the year. Number one, obviously, is a pending election,
Yep.
which is always a big thing in oil and gas.
It really is.
It's every 4 years.
You think it's
We
doom or gloom?
wait till after the election. Well, we're still here.
It's like
so,
it's like you're voting for your job.
yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
But
So,
you're right. We're still here.
Yeah, we're still here no matter who wins, right? They still need oil and gas. But so, yeah, I think, look, it's been a hard year on everybody.
Yeah.
It's been a hard year on operators. It's been a hard year on service companies. It's been a hard year on parents. It's been a hard year on kids.
Every industry.
Everything, right? But you just got to keep grinding. I always tell my young sales guys, and when a downturn hits, just compare it to the NCAA basketball tournament. It's survive and advance. Doesn't matter how ugly it is. A win is. A win is making it another 2 weeks.
Right.
And every 2 weeks you'll get closer to something better.
Right.
Now, it's hard, and it can bring you down, but you just have to keep going.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, usually, in the oil and gas industry, and when it was a downturn or something like this, you kind of see the end of the tunnel a little bit. You can have those little victories of victory of a sale here
Sure.
or victory of this. I mean, right now we're kind of in this long pause in that tunnel, that light at the end of the tunnel. It's not, you can't see it right now. At least I can't. I mean, you're not seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, so it's one of those things like, yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do? Either you buckle down, you survive in advance, or you just kind of get demotivated and not being positive moving forward.
Yeah, I think my favorite quote ever is by Winston Churchill.
Okay.
And let me set the scene. London is being bombed to smithereens. It is pure hell in the city.
Yeah.
And Winston Churchill comes out with this big speech and, the statement of, if you're going through hell, keep going. And I always think about that when things are hard.
Right.
There's only one way to get out of it, and that's to keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, just stick your, nose down, butt up, and go.
Winston Churchill had a lot of great one-liners.
Oh, he was
What was
good.
that one? There was some reporter, and she said, Mr. Churchill, if you were my husband, I'd poison your coffee. And he said, well, if you're my wife, I'd drink it. He had a bunch of one-liners.
Yeah.
God, I wish I was that smart. So I guess with no one under you, I mean, do you still feel like you're mentoring people?
Yeah.
Even though they're not working for you?
Yeah, I still, the funny thing is, even through all this with Edge, I still keep in touch with all the guys we worked with.
Right.
And it's really important to keep in this time, to keep your network strong.
Amen.
Go ahead.
I think that's an extremely crucial point you just brought up. There's a lot of people that they do understand, they do hear, keep networking and all that stuff, but it's very crucial right now, not only to find potential work, but potential to find jobs and just to find out what's going on, and also just kind of lift each other's up.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny, you talk about that Rosetta Kitchen where we met. That place was a gold mine. I met Jason Wade there, who's been one of my best friends, and a guy that I've learned a lot from. Is a great salesman in the business.
Yes.
And I mean, you meet a lot of really good people along the way if you just get out there and go to events and do whatever you can do. Be in the scene. Don't get down. Don't stay home. Keep going.
But let's talk about that. Let's talk about this new wave, this scene right now that we're in right now. You're having, things canceled. You're having, I'm not sure if Fin for Feather's going on this year.
It's canceled.
It's canceled, so you're having all these different industry events canceled. Doug is online, virtual. You're not doing breakfast runs. And honestly, these were tools in the past too. I mean, you're not going there to serve them breakfast. You're going there to talk to them.
Sure.
And get relationships.
Well, all those things were cheater things for hard workers, right? Like
people getting into breakfast?
Yeah, well, breakfast, ice cream runs in the afternoon. I mean, those were all things that, look, you may not have the best sales game, but it doesn't take a genius to go buy some breakfast and bring it in the morning and drop some cookies.
And they're seeing you.
Yeah, it's just...
But we're not in the environment of that right now.
No, it's changing, but I think everything's changing, and that's okay, because I think, as we come out of this 2020 COVID, I think you're going to see a lot of things different.
Right.
I think you're going to see a lot more people with flex schedules, a lot more people working from home.
So how do you get in front of those people?
I think this is good forced change for the oil field.
I think it's a necessary forced change.
It was going to happen one way or another, and it just happened a little faster than most people would like.
Yes, I agree. Most people expected it too. So I mean, you're seeing this flex schedule and all that stuff. So I mean, how do you start these new relationships, or how do you advance?
You've got to be creative.
Okay.
You've got to have a brand.
Yep.
And you've got to network hard.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
I mean, for better or worse, this is winter right now. And what have you done to this point to stock everything up?
Yeah. And also, what sucks right now is the perfect storm too, because it's Q4.
Oh.
And Q4 in the oil fields historically.
It's so bad. Add in the election, and it's just brutal.
God, you got COVID, you got Q4, you got election, you got the entire world in a dumpster fire right now. You got a recession, so it's a perfect storm of no activity.
I don't ever want to hear about the 80s again.
You know what? This is our 80s.
This is way worse. I don't want to hear about it again.
It is way worse. So you're getting out there, you're getting creative, getting in front of people, right?
Yeah.
And talking to people about the benefits. So you're still able to, I guess, if you're creative, get in front of people.
You have to be creative, and you have to look what's out there for you to use.
Right.
So what is it? LinkedIn? Is it social media? What are you doing? When you look back on this, if you don't have an answer of what you got better at during this time, that's on you. And you know what? At the end of the day, if you're not getting better at the social media aspect of this, the technology part of this, the presenting online and doing all those things, you're probably going to be right where you were or a worse spot before this happened.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's probably a worse spot because all these other people that are adapting and getting creative. Dina Dabowski was on here from Upcurve, and she said she had a great question. It says, "What have you done since the quarantine? What have you done since the downturn? What have you done? What have you improved on?" And I think that's a great point. I mean, always be improving or try to find some place to add value.
Yeah, it's the old adage, adapt or die, right? I mean, you got to continue to move on, and this is a big pivot for oil and gas.
Right. Really big.
It's changing how we culturally really do everything.
You're seeing everything from marketing change tremendously. It's not the standard white papers and here's this new plug that can it's none of that anymore. It's more interactive. It's more creative. It's more young. It's more hip.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's there's a massive changeover.
Do you miss those breakfast runs?
Sometimes I do.
You know what I don't miss about the breakfast runs? It's like when you start calling on a new company, you walk up to the front desk
Yeah.
and all that stuff. You're like, hey, I'm here to bring breakfast. Like, oh, you just leave it here in a card.
Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst.
Or this is a true story. Or when they use your card, when they spell salsa, they use your card to scrape the salsa into the trash, and then goes your card in the trash. That's happened to me a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The breakfast runs were the best. I
We
mean,
had some great stories from breakfast runs.
oh, they were the best.
A lot of good characters from that.
Oh, there are a lot of breakfast run legends. I mean,
Oh, I know.
where we have that Barry Rocher in this world, right?
You would know the best conference room to banter.
Yeah, oh,
To have
100%.
the best banter, and that's the thing. Now it's like you still have to get out there and get in front of people. I just think, I mean, people are waiting for things to get back to how things were. I don't think that's happening.
No, I think it's definitely a different sales approach, right?
Yeah,
And it's a different way we entertain now.
it is.
You know, the one thing that's kind of been the opportunity for people to do a lot of during this time is golf.
Yeah,
And I know salesmen get the bad rap about golf, but literally that's the way you get in front of people right now.
well, I mean,
Lunches are back.
Yeah,
Golf, you can go sport and clay shooting. Not exactly, you can't go to a lot of games or anything. So, I mean, breakfast is it's a new way of doing things.
and you're still finding. I mean, golf. I mean, yes, golf is a great way to get out there, but you're still finding people that don't want to do restaurants, that don't want to do.
Sure.
You know, and honestly, what I've seen, I thought all these oil field industry events I thought the attendance would be down. But man, the last couple ones, the ones I've seen online, OHH, AADE, all these events, I mean, the attendance is maxed out. It's through the roof.
When I see it on the operator and service side, the people who show up, and I really think it's a craving to feel unity and see people and be a part of something, because for the last 8 months,
It's been very
even
isolating.
if you work at home, you don't get that team feeling.
No, and that's our industry.
Yeah,
We're all field family. We've known each other for a decade now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like you know, I remember when I first met, going back to Rosetta, Jason Wade. I remember when he was like, yeah, just got 2 twins that were born, and they just celebrated their 9th birthday.
yeah,
9th?
yeah. 9th.
I kind of feel that's right.
No, wait, yeah. What's today? 20. Yeah, their 9th birthday.
So in this new industry, I guess, I mean, do you have anything you'd like to bring up or discuss off the
No,
cuff?
I would just say, it's a tough road, but I think that it's going to get better. It always does. This too shall pass. Brand
that.
line,
I love that line.
But it's an ever evolving, changing world we're in right now, and you need to do whatever you can to just change with that and be adaptive. I really think that it's going to be a really neat oil field after this is done. A lot more technology driven for sure.
Well, Brignac, I mean, you're definitely someone that I've known that that adapts, that knows how to plow through like the tough times and all that stuff, and you're definitely someone that respects the old school oil field.
Sure.
You know what I mean, so that being said, I have one question for you right now to conclude. Everything going on right now, Houston is losing an oil field staple. Jimmy G's is closing at the end of this month in 9 days. What are your thoughts on that?
Jimmy G's.
It's a staple.
It's a staple, and we go back to
Super Bowl parties.
Bubba with the party shrimp, which I'm not even sure they're on the menu. Staple. We used to have a huge Super Bowl party there every year. It was, a lot of the oil field was in the Spring Champions area, so it makes perfect sense. Back when Greens Point was a place to be.
Jimmy
Great
G's was in it.
food. We had all of our Petro Tiger events there
Yeah.
for LSU oil field alumni for years.
Are you still involved in Petro Tigers?
Unfortunately, we're not doing it anymore.
Okay.
Right towards the end, right towards the end of the beginning of the downturn, we had a big drop off, and then with COVID, we just said,
That makes sense. Any plans to pick it back up, maybe? I mean, you don't have to speak for them, but was this something that you want to see kind of pick back up?
we just had to talk about it with the alumni group and see
Okay.
what we can come up with more than anything.
So let's go back to Jimmy G's.
Jimmy G's, man.
Party shrimp.
I don't. What are the party shrimp? I mean,
I kind of feel like they're just Tony Satchery seasoned shrimp.
yeah,
Oil.
with butter.
Yeah, with a lot of butter. But yeah, Jimmy G's. That's gone. I mean, you lost Capone's. Capone's closed a while ago, but Jimmy G's has been around since I feel like the 70s or 80s.
It's a staple. I mean,
But you know what's funny though? It's like I kind of feel like for our generation of the oil field, there are no staples that pop up anymore.
No, I think we're that is the end of the era.
Yeah.
You know, it really is kind of, for better or worse terms, kind of that generation's kind of phased out at this point. I think for the most part, the Bubba guys, great oil field salesmen. Most of them are retired now. But I think we kind of live in a different world than they do back then. You know, most of those guys went to those bars because they had a phone.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
They waited for a call.
Yeah.
We have cell phones. And, back then customers want to drink at lunch. Now customers want to work out at lunch.
Right. Like, and me.
Yeah, and you.
Not really.
Yeah. So I think it's just a different game than it was then. But yeah, we don't have that staple place. I think a lot has to do with the fact that Houston has expanded so much.
Yeah.
You have a lot of guys live in Katy, a lot of guys live in the Woodlands, guys in Sugarland, guys in the Heights. It's a 45-minute drive. A lot quicker now without traffic.
Right.
But I think that kind of makes it harder for everybody to kind of get together.
But I never thought about it that way. That's an excellent point. It's like back then, like you go there to get the industry info. Now you just kind of check your emails or or check your phone, or just shoot a text out.
And there was no Uber back then, but they didn't.
Oh no, yeah, we don't have to go into that.
Yeah,
right. We're being a lot more smart these days.
Yeah, we're a lot smarter.
Or more knowledgeable, I guess.
Knowledgeable.
We understand
from a safety standpoint than they were then.
Safety.
So
that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, safety, ESG.
Safety, ESG, reduce those. Actually, and it reduces diesel costs too.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan, I appreciate you coming in, man. I think this has been great to hear you talk about this exciting new technology. Again, this is Jonathan Brignac, the VP of Business Development at Edge Gathering Virtual Pipeline. And it sounds like pretty cool technology, and if anyone wants to go check it out, they're on LinkedIn, they got a website, and you just hook up with Jonathan, ask him questions. Or you can reach us at Round the Rotary at cap-petra.com. Again, that's Round the Rotary at cap-petra.com. Jonathan, man, it's good talking to you, buddy. Appreciate you coming in.
Hey, JP, thank you so much. You guys have a first-class organization here.
Well,
really
appreciate that.
So,
all right, buddy. Well, we'll talk to you soon. We'll have you on again.
All right, thanks, JP.
All right, buddy.